what you're saying is there's you're running around in an extremely advanced mech suit with like jumping capabilities and flying and all the rest of that, and your melee weapon is a caveman club.
Yeah, essentially. Whoa!
That's great. I just popped that up. All right, and now we'll start. So hello everybody, welcome to Chonkwij Podcast. My name is Dr. Nickel. I'm joined tonight by Masami Omega Construct, Zero Burn.
Hello.
The intro for tonight is somewhat more toned down than it was last week, but it's I don't really know how to top last week yet.
Does anyone know how to top last week?
We'll go for. Well, I'll get there eventually. I just need to think about it for a little while. For
just find a bottom and you'll be fine.
Oh hell! Hell!
That's how you start with a bang.
If you want to be top, that's no problem. Oh, jeez. All right, so we're watching Zero play Anthem right now. Which
the Zero cam crashed again. That's funny. Okay, sorry.
Oh, damn it. Oh, it did. All right. So anyway, yeah, Anthem. Everybody remember Anthem? I don't remember this game at all.
Well, I played it when I was on Xbox, and I actually I enjoyed it. There just wasn't enough to do. You literally got through it. I got through it and had all of my javelins to max rank by like a month and a half in, and then there was just nothing to do.
Yeah, that was I never thought that it was a bad game. I played the beta, I enjoyed the beta. I thought the waypoint system needed some help because it was way too easy to get separated from your group, and then whenever somebody hit upon a checkpoint, much like Halo, but really more jolting, you would just be instantly transported to your teammate. But in Halo, it happens when you're not that far behind your teammate. You're both moving, and the route is fairly constrained. You know where to go in all the Halo games. In this game, not so much. Open world. So you could lose track of somebody pretty easily, and then boom, you just get transported right next to them.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I thought it was a fun concept. Good execution. I don't think it was all that broken on launch, but yeah, it never picked up because it was overhyped.
Yeah, I mean, it like I said, I played it with some buddies that I used to work with, and I mean, it was a lot. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. It was, especially when you've got other people to play with. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's kind of the other thing too. A lot of games have come out where the core gameplay is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not really engaging and fun. It's not really lasting unless you are able to easily co-op with your friends, and that's what really keeps you in the game. It's probably why I played Breakpoint and Wildlands for so long. It's absolutely why I played Division for so long, but yeah. As soon as Omega and I were done trying to break Breakpoint, we were kind of done with that game.
Yeah, I never got into Breakpoint. Division, yes. Breakpoint, not so much. People we used to play games with tried to get me into it, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. But for this evening, we get to cover a whole bunch of scattered topics. We have some new world news, Stardew Valley update, some updates to the Activision Blizzard lawsuit, some silly stuff from the Call of Duty franchise, and some news from CD Projekt Red. None of it particularly good. And we can wrap it up by discussing a little bit of Dune. Is Omega the only other person here who's watched the new Dune movie?
I have it downloaded. I just have not watched it yet.
So you got it.
I haven't quite gotten around to watching it on Paramount Plus, the most superior streaming
HBO Max.
program. Yeah.
Just say everything you were going to say, but put HBO Max first. So we'll have a spoiler-free little discussion about Dune. But yeah, let's see, to start off with, for Masami, and you can tell Kosen about this, Amazon is planning on banning New World players who are exploiting the gold duplication bug, or who have exploited the gold duplication bug.
Gold duplication bug. I'm not even sure I know about this forbidden fruit.
So as of update 1.03, which was last week, it was the update which brought server transfers to the game, so people got a server transfer token. People discovered that sometimes when they tried to transfer their character to a different server, they would get an error message, and the error would be character persist failure. So they found out through trial and error that if they got that error, and then they went back into their character in the world that they were currently on, and they transferred all their gold to a friend, and then logged off immediately, and then logged back in, their gold would still be in their inventory, and their friend would still have all the gold that they transferred to them.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's busted.
So that's a hardcore gold dupe bug. But this was reported on the official forums. Apparently on the official forums, it really didn't get as much attention. This harkens back to when Omega made the suggestion for Warframe to put the button in to sell your dogs out of the foundry directly. Putting it on the official forums didn't get much attention. Putting it on Reddit got a lot of attention.
How does that work out?
I don't know. Community mods pay more attention to Reddit than they do to their own site. It's a fucking hierarchy mess. But,
well, I mean, a Game Zone forum gets maybe a couple hundred views, but Reddit can rack up, tens of thousands.
Right, but presumably the Game Zone forums have a moderation team that's on par with whatever moderation team is on the Reddit server, assuming that the Reddit is run by Amazon Game Studios.
Oh, I doubt
It's not
that.
third party.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. I imagine it's just a fan community, because most game subreddits are community. I mean, virtually every subreddit is community operated, by whoever starts it. So maybe if they got there first and started a subreddit, yeah. But I would say a majority of the gaming subreddits that I visit, they are not in any way official or affiliated with anyone. Like Warframe isn't. Many of those have developers who frequent the subreddit, but not. Yeah, I can't think of many that actually control the subreddits. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but
sure. But the long and the short of this is Reddit got a lot of attention. The devs put out a statement of this, and they have said that players among this small transferred gold or items while the character was affected. Some players among this small set transferred gold items while their character was affected. All of these transactions are logged in our database. So they're doing an audit presently, and they're going to remove duped gold where appropriate and ban people who very deliberately were doing this in mass, because they had said on launch that anybody, first of all, they reserve the right to say what's okay and what's not okay, which is their prerogative. This is an autocracy, not a democracy. And they have said that anyone caught using exploits for this game, they said this at launch, was whatever, they could be punished however Amazon sees fit. So people should have known if they found an exploit, don't exploit it, just report it. So Amazon will decide who gets banned and who just has their gold reset to nothing.
There was in the same vein, there is with the most recent Destiny update, there is a min-max update, or there's a min-max exploit that Bungie has found that people started bragging about that they were using in PvP, and Bungie said, okay, that's fine. We're going to start, anybody who's using that is getting banned permanently. And it's you literally, when somebody goes to cast, like, there are two supers in particular that are there to buff and generate super energy. And the way the exploit works is you literally take when they go to cast, when they're in their mid cast animation, you just press and hold the minimize maximize screen button, and it hold it for 5 seconds and then release, and it generates roughly 3 recharges worth of super energy for every character on your team
Okay.
that
Yeah.
does the exploit.
So that's a little bit of an exploit, yeah. But so there you go. That's the new world news. I don't think that any of us actually knew about that, but I certainly didn't know about that bug
Well,
until
we
I saw
all
the
also
PC Gamer
yeah.
article.
Well, we also started all on the same server, so there was no need for us to do any server transfer bullshit. So
Right. Yeah. Masami was kind enough and smart enough to pick a server that had an awesome name, and
yes,
then tell all of us that she was on that server, and it's like, okay, come join me, and that saved us a whole lot of grief.
well, I watched a lot of YouTube before I made a decision, so both in general and just so I knew what had to be made as a group decision in order for us all to play together, because there's a few steps.
Yep. But moving off of that, in kind of exciting news, because I know I'm at least one person here that's waiting for the Steam version of Dwarf Fortress. There's a bit of an update on that. There was a Dwarf Fortress play put up onto YouTube by the developer, and it shows a goblin attack. So essentially what we get to see here is the developer playing Dwarf Fortress with the new GUI, and he just takes us through his fortress that he's built, and there's a goblin raid that comes in, and he gets to defend against it. So it's a little sneak peek as to the gameplay that we will be having whenever Dwarf Fortress is released on Steam.
That's pretty cool. That game has taken fucking forever to make any progress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was announced how long ago? I'm not complaining, but
2 years.
I just think you're making a graphics pack for a game that's been around for how long? Like, I'm sure it's a little more complicated than that, and I'm certainly no developer, but like, if it's gonna take you that long, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be announcing that shit like so long before it's ready. I don't know. I think it's just a little silly.
I would agree with you. I'd say that it was a cynical cash grab so you could get pre-orders in, but there's no way to pre-order it.
Yeah, well, like, my thinking is you did it so long that you've wasted the hype. Like, you announced the game was coming out with a graphics pack how long ago, and then people were excited about it, but people have entirely forgotten about it now because it's been fucking years.
But
like, you should be announcing that shit 6 months out.
Yeah, and building up to it, exactly. But he's at least trying to generate some hype now with the YouTube video, and PC Gamer picked up on it, so it made the news. But yeah, I just thought this was a neat spot to say this is definitely in the works, and it looks like it's, from this video and from what happens in this video, it looks to be mostly done. He's playing a version of the game that works, and he's doing a thing that, you know, is fairly advanced mechanics. He's having AI attack a fort that's built up and has resources and has systems in it. So yeah, hopefully this will be out for, I don't know, maybe Christmas is too optimistic, but that would be a great time to release it when one of the Steam sales hits.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon.
TM.
Soon TM.
Soon is a registered trademark of every video game company ever.
Yeah. Soon TM is one of those things like who wore it best.
Yeah, right.
Like, is DE the best at that? Is CD Projekt Red the best at that? But all right, so yeah, moving off that to
I
an
think
article.
Rockstar is the grand champion of that.
Ooh.
Yeah, for PC ports. Yeah, here's GTA 5. Then 3 years later, here's the GTA 5 PC port. Same thing with Red. Alright, anyway. Masami posted an article about Stardew Valley. I know, Masami, do you play Stardew Valley?
I did go through a period where I like super overdosed on it for like a good week or two. And I keep meaning to go back to my file because I was like just to get to the first year part. And then I was like, I need to put this down and take a break for a little while, and I sadly have not gone back, but I enjoyed what I did play.
Gotcha. No, yeah, I also enjoyed what I did play. It's a really laid-back game. It's basically a farm simulator. Could you call it pixelated graphics?
Yeah, I mean...
That's definitely 8-bit graphics, yeah.
Yeah. It
Like,
looks, for some reason, it looks prettier than that, but it is.
I mean, it's sprite-based graphics.
Controversial opinion, it's better than... it is definitely better than Animal Crossing.
I never played Animal Crossing.
I would not say it's better than Animal Crossing for the Switch, because I've seen those in action, but it's definitely in that older style of gameplay.
Eric Concerned Ape Barone, who's the dev behind Farming Simulator, announced that his next game is going to be basically a chocolate making simulator.
Yeah,
which is adorable.
Yeah, instead of like being stuck in a small town on a farm, you're in a big city running a chocolate factory, essentially. So it's a little bit more urban set.
But it does look kind of adorable.
Yeah, not gonna lie. Now he just says in development, so like, and the trailer does have some footage, but by no means do I. If he says it's in development, it's probably just like still working out some of the kinks.
Yeah.
Probably should not be expected soon.
Right, as you say from the trailer, it looks like a lot. I don't know how much total, but a lot of art assets are totally ready, prepared.
Yeah.
And it does look, I don't know, it looks laid back and kind of goofy and fun, which is what the Stardew Valley game was all about. So it's nice that the tone is carrying on. But the only thing I don't know about this, Masami, if you know something about this, it says haunted chocolatier.
I'm gonna assume that it's gonna have that same sort of zany supernatural twist that Stardew Valley can get if you get into it far enough. Like, you start out, your grandpa left you the farm, you're gonna move out onto it because you're tired of the city life. And then, like, as you're playing, as you're going through the seasons, it goes from, oh, this is just, a farming sim. And then it gets real fucking weird. There's witches, there's wizards, and there's this whole supernatural aspect to it. So I'm going to guess that that's all also getting incorporated into this thing. And thus, you're probably running a haunted chocolate factory if I had to make any kinds of guesses or speculation about it.
You're right. Stardew Valley started off pretty on the level, and then it got crazy.
Yeah.
Shit got weird.
You gotta it's actually like kind of hard to explain. You kind of have to play it and find out.
Do it go down? Yes, it do go down.
Oh yeah. So this is cool. There's two games that I'm personally a little bit interested in that are coming out. So Dwarf Fortress and The Haunted Chocolatier.
I would probably if it's the same, like in that same $15 to $20 price range that Stardew Valley is, I would probably pick it up. So
yeah, All right, so
it'll be interesting to see if it has the same co-op mode feeling that Stardew Valley has.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I never played Stardew Valley co-op.
I have not either. I would not be opposed to doing it, but like coordinating schedules with someone is almost as entertaining as scheduling a D&D game. To play on nothing against Leetness, who will probably be listening to this later. I actually adore that he takes vacations and it gives me some extra time at times, but there's a trope that involves the scheduling of D&D games, and it is absolutely a thing.
Oh, very true. All right, so that concludes all the positive news that we had for tonight. Bye everyone who's only around for the positive stuff.
At least we started with the positive stuff, and we didn't start with the negative stuff to suck everyone in.
Yeah, that's well, we'll bring it back around. Well, hopefully with the non-spoiler shit about Dune.
Right on.
But yeah, it wasn't that now. All right. First, let's we'll have an update on the Activision Blizzard lawsuit. So ActiBliz attempted to have the lawsuit halted, basically. Just they tried to stop the lawsuit in general, and it failed. But here's the reason. Well, they had a point here, but I have a question with this. So, just to be perfectly specific, it was the Department for Employment and Housing in the state of California that brought suit against Activision Blizzard for discrimination and sexual harassment. Alongside them, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission also brought a lawsuit against ActiBliz. Equal Employment had their lawsuit settled the same day that it went public for $18 million, which seems low, but Equal Opportunity settled their lawsuit. Department of Employment and Housing opposed that settlement, saying here, quote, it would cause irreparable harm, unquote, to its own lawsuit. So Equal Opportunity came back and said that two of the lawyers heading up Employment and Housing's case had formerly worked for Equal Employment on his own investigation into Activision Blizzard, the same investigation that's led to the settlement that they had. So ActiBlizz's argument in this was that it's an ethics violation and a conflict of interest. And they tried to use that to get the case thrown out entirely. And LA County Judge Timothy Patrick Dillon said no, request rejected, and the suit is continuing. No reason given for that denial. My question here is where specific is this, like a solid ethics violation, conflicts of interest, or is this a hypothetical that could lead to a scenario where there would be an ethics violation and conflicts of interest? Because I'm having a hard time making a solid argument on ActiBlizz's part, so there's something here that I don't understand.
I mean, I don't see it, but that's just me.
Put it in layman's terms, two different organizations sued a company. One of those organizations settled their case, and the other organization said, hey, don't do that. We don't want to settle our case. And the opposite organization said, well, two of your lawyers were working for you on this investigation. Now they work for us, and they said that we should settle it. So I'm not exactly clear on, why that would be a conflict of interest or an ethics violation.
I mean, like, if they weren't, like, government agencies, I could maybe see it, but, like, yeah, it's weird. Seems like they're grasping at any kind of straw, really.
Yeah, they definitely are. There's another story we'll move on to, but yeah, the point of this was that ActiBliz tried to get the lawsuit halted, but just did not go over in court, and the judge said bullshit.
Pretty much. I mean, that's kind of how it reads to me.
The other Activision story was focusing on their employees. So Francis Townsend, I believe, Blizzard executive Fran Townsend told employees that California's sexism and harassment lawsuit presented a distorted and untrue picture of the company. If we all remember that. That was the corporate email that did not go well with employees, and they had an organized walkout back in July. Now, Townsend has changed her tone and has circulated other internal emails, which were published, and people can read them out there. But employees basically have lost all faith in Fran Townsend. And they're saying that if she is part of the corporate structure which denied this initially, and she's not really believing that all of these things have happened or that the atmosphere was this bad, then how is she going to be an effective part of the solution? So that is the atmosphere within ActiBliz. Without, they're trying to get the lawsuit dismissed and they can't. Within, their employees are doubting their leadership abilities.
I mean, that makes sense, but it makes sense for them to doubt the abilities of the leadership. I get that, but the problem is portions of the leadership, i.e., the head of the entire fucking company, don't see it as a problem. They are just trying to cover their own ass by firing other people or by other people leaving.
Yeah.
What's his name? Bobby Kotick?
Yes, Bobby Kotick.
Ass clown.
The Activision Blizzard CEO, Bobby Kotick, has essentially given Townsend a blank check to put toward further changes to the company.
Oh, that's gonna be terribly effective.
It does give her. She is being given the authority and the resources to effect change.
Sure.
How she chooses to utilize those resources and affect that change, I guess, is what we're waiting to see. But so far, Blizzard employees seem less than impressed, or just nonplussed at the whole thing. Which I can understand when your human resources department has basically ignored all of your complaints for over a decade.
Yep.
Yeah. Blizz not having a great week. Yeah, so that's just an update there. That's where they're at. And, okay, something funny and kind of sad. Call of Duty marketing finds a new level of tastelessness from PC Gamer.
No God.
So I suppose there's an argument to be made here that they're insensitive, but there's a different thing that I think is more talk worthy. This has to do with the latest marketing push for Call of Duty Vanguard. I have no plan on playing this game. I don't know if anyone else here has any plan on playing a Call of Duty game. I suspect not.
No.
You are correct, sir.
So, the marketing for Call of Duty Vanguard wants its players to believe, quote, that its graphics are so realistic that conflict photographers can't tell the difference between the video game and reality.
Oh no.
Oh, I've seen these commercials.
No.
I've seen these commercials. It's hilarious.
Right. So, they got 2 combat photographers, which are photojournalists who have been in conflict zones before and seen action and reported and taken pictures. They brought 2 of these people in and they gave them special camera-like portals to enter the game engine itself. So I don't know how this works. Maybe they were sitting in front of, a really big monitor, or maybe they actually had VR. But they went in and they did their real life job, and they took some screenshot, or they took screenshots basically, and shared them. There are 4 that are being shared. I put them up here on screen. And the marketing team put out the statements of the photojournalists that the photojournalist said, this is what war looks like. This is very realistic. This is realistic combat. And supposedly we have a difficult time differentiating between real life and, these kinds of photos because, and this is the line that got people pissed off, Call of Duty Vanguard captures the epic intimacy of World War II in an incredibly immersive manner.
Fuck
So People took issue with the word intimacy because it's kind of being used inappropriately here. War is not intimate. It can be personal, but it's not intimate. And the other thing is, I'm taking a look at these things. If photojournalists can't tell the difference between these and real life, are you fucking kidding me? There's one picture of a tank here that's just like, this looks like GTA. This is not realistic. The explosion in the background, that's pretty. It looks pretty realistic, but no, I can very obviously tell that all these are from a video game. I'm sorry. That's just fucking stupid.
I saw the video or I saw the actual video and cringed so hard. It's embarrassing. It is downright embarrassing.
You can say it's fucking embarrassing.
Yes, and kick a trash can while I'm on my way out.
Yeah. So it's fine if you want to say, realistic game immersion into warfare and all the rest of this, but trying to say that, people who actually have been in the battlefield can't tell the difference between this and that, that's a little tasteless. That's kind of stupid. I don't even know why they went down this route. I just would have been a lot more keen to bring in photographers and been like, hey, take some glamour shots of this. And then, we'll put photo filters on them and we'll release them to Twitter or whatever, and people can take a look at the awesome graphics.
I'm not super bothered by it.
It's just stupid. I'm not super bothered by it either. There are some people, obviously, this article makes it sound like there are people who were triggered just by saying that a World War II had intimacy of any kind. But whatever.
People are like, Twitter's gonna Twitter, and you can't give a shit about what the idiots on Twitter say with stuff like that. Like,
yeah, of course.
I have no problem. Like, we might disagree over how the pictures look with what these supposed war journalists are saying, and that's fine. But like, people who are getting offended by what they said, their advertising copy, like, that's just stupid. Yeah, I personally am not remotely offended by it. And people like to be triggered over nothing. I mean, it's literally a pastime on Twitter.
So much more interesting.
Here's one reason why this probably is not making a big splash, and people aren't able to point a finger and say, oh, Activision Blizzard are at it again and they're stupid and all the rest of that. They're auctioning off these photographs, and they're not selling for a ton. It looks like they're being sold for $515 each, but the reason that they're being auctioned off is to raise funds to help U.S. military veterans find high-quality employment through the Call of Duty Endowment Program, which this article states is a good cause. It is a good cause. So, not everything out of this is bad, but yeah, the whole bringing in photojournalists to say, oh, this is so real, we can't tell that it's not real life. I just can't believe that. I just find that difficult to believe. Especially considering all these photographs are, supposedly taking place in World War II, and I don't think there are any photojournalists left alive who covered World War II.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. Anyway, there are pretty graphics for sure. This is pretty. But I don't know. If you want a real hellscape, go play Swenya. That fucking yeah, that's a psychologically traumatizing game.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
You did Hellblade: Swenya's Sacrifice. It was an indie game that came out. It looked like a AAA title, but it was an indie game that came out and probably had about 6 hours of play in it. It was a short game, deliberately a short game, so that they could focus on quality, and it was great. The graphics in it were superb, but yeah, it's essentially a descent into madness. It's a psychological thriller and analysis of the main character, where she descends into madness and has to deal with the psychological trauma that she has. And it's great. It's done in a very tasteful way, and there's some really disturbing images in it, especially when you get towards the hell portion.
Yeah. That sounds cool, actually.
Reminds me of a game I played a while back. What the fuck is it called? It's in my Steam library. Let me look it up really quick. Oh, Agony. This game was like when the trailer first dropped and like it first made a big splash. It was so fucking cool. And if you go back and watch the trailer now, it still looks so fucking amazing. It's like the whole game takes place in basically hell. It's like a horror survival game where your soul is taken to hell and you're trying to survive and escape and shit. And it is just grotesque and disgusting and awesome. And then the game came out and it fucking sucked balls.
Oh, yeah, it has mixed reviews.
Oh, God, it's so bad. I was so hyped for it. I was so excited for it. And then it just came out fucking terrible. And, like, they ended up cutting shit because, like, for stuff that they said they wouldn't cut, and everybody got upset. I think it was nudity. Like, there was some nudity that they showed in a trailer that and then they cut it, and people were like, what the fuck is this? And it was a whole mess, and that game pretty much just died. It was dead on arrival.
I notice on Steam there are actually two versions of this game. There's Agony and there's Agony Unrated.
Yes. They made promises and then went back on them in the original version, which is the quote-unquote rated version. And people were so rightfully pissed about not getting what their promised. And it's not like I'm talking, nudity in terms of like, horny dudes just want to jerk off. Like, it's a fucking horror game in hell. And, you got people tortured and, being hung up on racks and shit. And, like in Diablo 2, there's, and Dariel's got her big old titties out with like a chain connecting them to nipple clamps, but it's not exactly something that you would call erotic. So it was like that kind of shit. And it just totally ruined the promised aesthetic. And it just, it was bad.
Yeah. Diablo 3 has the same thing. All the succubi. Actually, no, they should be in D2 as well. The succubi are topless in D3, I know for sure.
I don't know, I'm so busy fucking murdering them as fast as possible that I never take a look.
You gotta take a look at that. Back in the day, it was 800 by 600 pixelated titties. But yeah.
Back in the day, those were the best kind.
I mean, that was before Pornhub, so understandable.
Yeah, do you remember back in the day? Like, you talk back in the day, downloading porn when JPEGs loaded one line at a time down the screen?
Oh, God. Give me 15 minutes.
Oh, we got nipple.
That was The Simpsons fucking did that. It's like, ooh, Captain Janeway, the final frontier. And then he's watching one line of the JPEG load.
Yeah. I explicitly remember that from my childhood.
Do you remember that AOL had their own image compression format that they developed specifically so that you would see the whole picture would load, but it would be blurry, and then it would progressively get sharper?
Oh, I didn't know that was an AOL specific thing.
I think it was literally .art files. I don't remember, but yeah. AOL totally had that.
That's funny.
Christ. Let's see. And all right, two things coming up just to mention for CD Projekt Red. Remember CG Projekt Red?
I do remember.
They used to be in the news a little bit. At one point they were a respected gaming developer.
Yeah, they put out these 3 games, Witcher and Witcher 2 and Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And yeah, those were the glory days of CD Projekt Red.
So what's going on with Cyberpunk now?
So they put out a tweet that Masami threw up in chat and says their official notice says, "Dear all, we have an important update regarding the next generation updates of Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for consoles and PC. Based on recommendations supplied by teams supervising the development of both games, we have decided to postpone their releases until 2022. Our current target for Cyberpunk 2077 is the first quarter of 2022 and the second quarter of 2022 for Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Apologies for the extended wait, but we want to make it right."
That's hilarious.
So they're pushing this back, and some of the comments on Twitter reflect some of the comments on Reddit over this is that, this goes back to the conversation that we had ages ago. When Cyberpunk 2077 was in development, there was no PS5. And this was a point was made to me at lunch the other day where people do get consoles early. They get next-gen consoles early so that they have hardware specifications and they can, tailor their games for when the console releases. But this was in development for so long that by the time they could have gotten an early copy of a PS5, wouldn't they have been like a little bit fucked already? And isn't that why the PS4 version kind of crashed and burned and didn't work and the PS5 version was barely functioning? So they're kind of still fixing their own mess and they're pushing it back because they still can't make it work on PS5 just yet. And Xbox, and whatever the Xbox Sex.
wait,
I thought it's that they were currently using the problem was that the version of the game that they're playing is the previous gen version, but the game is so poorly made that it can only run on the next gen consoles.
Yes. Okay, yes, I said that poorly. It was ostensibly designed for PS4 and Xbox One, but for whatever reason, even though it was designed for those, it just flat out did not work on them. There were all sorts of problems with memory allocation and just taxing the hardware way too hard.
Yeah, it's just not powerful enough hardware for the game that they made.
So now that PS5 has been out for a while and people have PS5s, I can't find where to buy one. Not that I actually want to. I was just curious the other day. They're trying to tailor this game to work specifically with PS5 and Xbox X, and it's taking them longer than expected. The silly thing about this is I realize, quality takes time, but at a certain point, aren't you spending so much time that the next generation of console has come out before you're done tailoring your game to the current generation?
I mean, I think the console generation is going to last longer than that, but
yeah, likely. But yeah. So anyway, I just thought this was noteworthy because CD Projekt Red is pushing a project back again. They still haven't gotten their shit together with Cyberpunk 2077. The game mostly works. Mostly. TM.
Well, I see this in one of two ways. We could make fun of it and be like, ha ha ha, CD Projekt Red, another delay on Cyberpunk 2077. Because, that's a valid criticism to make. This is another delay. But, maybe the fact that they're doing this delay should be taken as a good sign that they learned from the original release and aren't gonna fucking release a piece of shit on a schedule, and they're instead actually gonna make it good.
And that is an optimistic path.
Yeah,
that's an optimistic path to take, and I'd like to take that with you. But I have a difficult time forgetting history, contrary to most of the rest of the planet, with our server excluded, our server full of people excluded. And they pushed back the release date of Cyberpunk 2077 3 times, and they delayed that for over a year, and we all took that as a good sign. It's like,
imagine how much worse it would have been if they didn't.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
It was bad when it launched. Imagine if they did release it on original schedule. Good lord.
Yeah, that would have been a train wreck. But my point with that was that, yeah, it is a good thing that they want to do it right and they're taking their time to do it and they're not being pressured by a schedule, but they've said this before.
They have. You are absolutely correct.
Hopefully they'll get it right. I'm done laughing at CD Projekt Red and saying, haha, you fucked it up, it's hilarious, look at all these memes. Now I just feel badly for them.
Well, and there comes a point where you have to go, okay, this is just sad.
I just don't even care.
I sort of do, just because they had... I have the Witcher games. I haven't really played the first or the second one all that much, but I got into the third one for a while. It's a damn good game, and it was a finished game, and it's good. Companies that released finished games that look that pretty, deserve to be celebrated. But yeah, they hit that rock in the road, and that was it wasn't a rock, it was a boulder. And yeah,
more like they shoved a stick in the spokes of their bike wheel.
Look what I do. Yeah. In parallel to that story, CD Projekt Red actually bought an indie developer called Molasses Flood, which released entitled The Drake Hollow and The Flame in the Flood. I am not familiar with anything that Molasses Flood has done, but CD Projekt Red purchased an indie studio, and it is speculated that the project that they've assigned to the indie studio is associated with Witcher or Cyberpunk 2077. So, in conjunction with the story we just talked about, is it possible that CD Projekt Red has bought an indie dev studio to help them fix shit?
I mean, that's one way to do it. Just hire a whole workforce.
Molasses Flood was the ones who announced on social media that CD Projekt Red formally acquired the whole studio. So I'm not sure if they're going to be immediately working on a project that already exists for CD Projekt Red, or if they're going to start a new project so that the bulk of CD Projekt Red can continue fixing Cyberpunk 2077 issues.
Here's my thing. Don't start new shit if your old shit ain't working, because inevitably you're gonna fuck up your new shit.
But Zero, we need muns. We need those juicy muns.
I don't give a fuck. Capitalism be damned.
I like eating, okay? I need those juicy muns. Give me the muns.
I get what you're saying, but like, this is two different teams. You know, it's kind of like the complaint where, like, when a video game is in a rough state and they release like a graphics update and all the people like start bitching, why are you wasting time on this? It's like, bitch, do you think the graphics artists are the ones who are like fixing the code of the game? No, it's different people with different jobs. Well, like, you know, when a larger studio acquires a studio like this, and it's, you know, they have multiple projects going at different places. I mean, look at Rockstar. Rockstar's got how many different branches that were simultaneously making how many different games at different times?
Yeah, like a billion.
So, you know, yeah, do they need to fix Cyberpunk? Yeah, but it's not necessarily always the answer. Just throw more people at it. And, yeah, sometimes the answer is just time and the people that you have working on it. But I don't know. What I'm mostly curious about is why they bought this, you know, little studio that's made some games that we've never heard of, and yeah, it's just an interesting that it's such a small studio.
It is, yeah. It's a small independent studio. I thought it was out of Africa. No, it's not. I got this story from well, this webpage is comic book, but I got it from what was it? IGN Africa. So I don't actually know anything about Molasses Flood. But yeah, whatever they want to do, however they're conducting their business, I'm sure they have an interest in preserving themselves as a company, so they're going to try to do the best that they can. And whether or not the internet is satisfied with it is another story. But yeah, I have one more story, but I'll save it. I'll save it for the end. It's a fun story. It's a funny story.
Well, there's something that I wanted to bring up, and it's the scalper situation, because this past week they released, Microsoft teamed up with some little refrigeration company and made Xbox Series X refrigerators.
What?
Yes. Okay. I'm actually trying to find an article right now for you. And these things were on sale for, I believe, at Target for an hour, and they were sold out and immediately reposted on eBay for 3 to 5 times the amount that they sold for.
I have an article up here. Microsoft newest piece of hardware is the Xbox Series X mini fridge, and it went on sale this morning, which was October 22nd, a couple days ago. It went on sale in Target and other retailers around the world, and the $100 meme product quickly sold out, got review bombed, and emerged on auction sites at a huge premium. God damn.
Yeah. And
it's a 300% markup.
Yeah. And I think what irritates me is companies are going to stop like limited releasing shit at some point, because I mean, yes, they're making the money, but then people are turning around and making triple on the products that they're selling. So companies are just gonna be like, fuck it. If everybody has, what they'll do is they'll just start producing enough that this type of shit won't happen. It won't be limited release. And when everybody is special, nobody is. So.
Shit, I was just trying to get this thing to work. All right, there it is. So I'm just gonna play this video that's in this article. But yeah, I think it's cute that they made it's a 10-liter mini fridge, to the kind that I think we used to have in college, where you can fit a 12 rack of Coke cans in the bottom of it, and then it's got a shelf above it for whatever else. Looks like a pretty standard refrigerator, but it looks kind of like an Xbox X. The police are coming to get you, Mecca.
So it goes.
Hello, New
geez,
York.
no, wait.
Never change.
I'm sorry, it's even tinier. It is a mini fridge. It is only able to fit the 12 cans of Coke. God damn.
See,
that's probably why it was only
is it
$100.
actually the size of an Xbox Series X then?
It looks to be about that size.
Wow.
That's pretty funny.
Well, good for them. That's interesting, Zero. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's been one of the things people are irritated as shit about, because it's again one of those limited release things, and of course, whatever. At this point, it is what it is. Scalpers gonna scalp.
Well, so this is the market. The market economy fighting back. We're buying everything direct from manufacturers. There's no more room for middlemen anymore, except for if you're a huge-ass internet conglomerate and people can buy things through you. So people have taken it upon themselves to become the new middlemen. So yeah, there's a resurgence in scalping, and it's just fantastic. And on the same note, there was an article in PC Gamer yesterday about a new Radon card that's coming out, and the title of the article was something like, "This card is so good that it's going to sell out. If you want it, read the specs now and buy it on launch day."
Buy it on launch day. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm gonna sit up and hit refresh all fucking night on my computer just to get outbid by somebody who's running a bot that buys everything the second that it launches.
I know, I had the same fucking thought. I don't know how long ago it was during the PS5 release, but I was watching a YouTube channel at the time, and I caught a couple of their live streams, and every live stream, the people who were on there playing games and talking back and forth had a second monitor up where they were constantly hitting refresh to try and buy a PS5. And it was just like a side thing. They weren't making a big deal out of it. It was just like, oh, well, this is also what we're doing. We're paying attention to this and trying to grab one. But that just so understates your point. Like, it's awful.
Well, and then, you've got places that you would never expect to sell these type of items. You would never expect it. When the PS5 first came out, Kohl's sold PS5s. And,
Yeah.
have you ever been in a Kohl's?
Yes, I thought they were primarily clothing.
Exactly. They have a one aisle electronic section, and most of it is like speakers, like Bluetooth speakers and shit, not anything, no gaming systems or anything. Now, the one here I know has like Xbox controllers or PlayStation controllers or whatnot, but it's like the last generation. It's not current gen. And apparently, there was like people were able to go in and buy PlayStations on Kohl's.com, PlayStation 5s.
You remember when the Sharper Image used to sell really mediocre steaks? Primarily an electronics store selling food. Yeah, stuff like that always makes me giggle. But you're right. Yeah. At this point, I think that realtors, regardless of whether or not they're in the business of whatever product comes out, they're gonna try to grab that product if they think there's a high rate or there's a high chance that people will scalp it. Because that's what is that? It's guaranteed income for them. Why the fuck wouldn't they do it?
Yeah.
Well, that is neat. So this is a dinky little refrigerator that I definitely wouldn't get because it's 12. You can fit 12 cans of Coke in it. So okay, great.
It is a little ridiculous.
It's cute. I guess you could keep it on your desk. You could pretend that it was a tower and then shock people when they wanted a beverage. Your computer is a refrigerator?
One day, e-commerce is going to figure out a way. Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that one day they'll figure out a way to deal with bots, but then it's going to be cat and mouse forever. I mean, who knows? Maybe there needs to be some sort of legal intervention. You know, maybe laws need to change that prevent stuff like that from happening. I don't know. It's interesting thought, but it keeps happening time and time again with particularly electronics, since there's been shortages recently. And you know, companies have tried things. I know Newegg was doing a thing where like only you can only get one piece, and if you were going to and actually it was like a raffle type situation where they had like a limited number, so if you wanted to get in you actually had to
put a down payment.
Enter. It wasn't a down payment, but you had to like enter your name, I think, for a chance to, you know, be raffled to buy the, like, if you win one of the raffle slots, you get to buy one of their items.
Well, that's like GameStop. As much as GameStop has actually started getting into the PC building thing. They've got an entire section in stores now that is like, hey, you can buy everything but a graphics card.
Was it GameStop that did that covered the raffle? Because I know, okay, yeah, Newegg definitely has done that. We covered an article on that, but and Newegg has always had a system on it where you can only buy. It'll tell you when you want to buy something, limit X number per customer.
Yeah.
So they do that, but yeah, I seem to remember an article about GameStop where it was for a graphics card, where they were offering people, you had to throw in $10 and your mailing address, and they would raffle it off. They would have a raffle, and if you won, then you were able to buy a card. If you didn't, you got your money back.
Yeah, and they also have started doing where if you have got Pro, if you've got Pro, then guess what? You get you get early access to sales on the newest technology, graphics cards, PS5s, Xbox One X.
That's right.
So
I'm remembering now. So yeah, I don't know, Omega. You mentioned laws. I imagine that would be a bureaucratic nightmare, but probably possible. I guess you'd have to target. You know, if you are a company, then you are not allowed to resell without permission. If you are an individual, yeah, you're whatever.
No, I would even go so far as, like, you look at laws about emergency price gouging. Like, there are laws in place that make it illegal during times of emergency to buy a certain thing, and then jack up the prices for profit. Maybe there needs to be an expansion on that type of law that could simply be like, if there's an item being released in limited quantities and you solely buy up all of it just to then sell it at inflated prices, that is illegal. I don't know. It'd be an interesting thing to see if it could survive any sort of legal challenge.
A real world example of what you just said was back when COVID was getting bad last year, there were two individuals that filled a garage bay with toilet paper and hand sanitizer, and they were selling it at inflated prices on eBay, and the Fed came down pretty hard on them. I'm not sure if it was the FBI.
Oh, that was in New Jersey.
You also hear about it a lot. I actually heard about like warehouses in New York City, that got raided because they had like tens of thousands of masks that they were stockpiling and selling at inflated prices. But I don't know. I heard about it most often during hurricanes and similar type emergencies down south. I heard about it a lot in Florida whenever hurricanes go across the panhandle. So, but yeah, it's happened a lot in COVID as well.
God damn, these people ruining it for the rest of us.
Yeah, I
just want to buy toilet paper. That's all I want.
Yeah, this is where things start verging into like political discussion territory. But this is, our society has become such that we've glorified and put a priority on making money at the expense of anything else. So any way that anyone can make money is to be encouraged and exploited to the fullest extent.
Yeah, and we're in late stage capitalism.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what's happening with this. People who are doing nothing, contributing nothing, but found a way to siphon money out of people. And so they're going to do that. And, are we going to be some libertarian shithole where we just let that happen? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe that's what happens. Or, we could acknowledge that society might work a little bit better if there are rules in place to not just let the average person actively fuck over other average people for your own gain.
None of this would be a problem if we just got rid of the whole notion of the American dream. That's the whole problem. I'm blaming that here, all right? I realize that for your average American, you're probably stupid enough to actually think that anyone can grow up and be a president or a millionaire. But realistically, the world only needs one president each 4 years, but we need millions of garbage men.
No, the real problem is that the American dream is sold on this ideal of being able to support a family and live your life comfortably off of a 9-to-5 job, working your 40 hours a week. And, when the American dream was what it was in, the good old days.
1935.
Not even, more like the 50s.
The Plastic Fantastic era, yes.
Where the boomers were coming up. Welcome to all the problems of today. The boomers took advantage of everything to the fullest extent, and they shut every door behind them for the rest of us.
Ooh. Now I'm going to make fun of myself by saying, boo-hoo, look at me.
I saw an article recently where just talking about, no surprise, the average age of Congress is fucking geriatric. And they've passed laws that index Social Security payments to inflation. You know what they don't do? Pass laws indexing minimum wage to inflation. Why? Because they're going to get theirs and fuck everybody else. That's the boomer attitude in a nutshell.
Yeah. I agree. Fuck everybody who's not me. That should be the new American dream.
Oh, that has been it for some time.
I know, but we need to popularize it. We need to start teaching that at school. See what happens when the next generation goes. So the only way to beat the generation that has screwed us out of our Social Security checks is to become even more vicious than the generation that screwed us out of our Social Security checks. Because I'm firmly of the belief that I'm never going to receive Social Security. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be
hell no.
It doesn't matter how much I paid into it at this point. It's just never going to happen for me. I've
Hell
come
no.
to peace with that.
No, that's why companies and places and financial advisors push you to have a 401k,
Yeah.
is so that you don't have to rely on that check. Because I mean, my grandparents struggle. My poor grandmother, everything's on credit, and then she just takes whatever her, you know, she struggles. Her health care is expensive as shit. Um, it's obscene. She showed me her healthcare bill one time, and I about shit a brick.
Yeah, to come up here to one of the third world shithole states like Massachusetts, where we have free healthcare and we're drowning in debt. Oh no, wait, we're not.
Make
Yeah.
a persuasive case to move out to the East Coast, Doc.
But
Yeah,
think of all those taxes you pay.
I know, it's so fucking outrageous.
It's
No, it's
so
not.
socialist.
It's not outrageous. The amount of tax that I pay is not outrageous. It's just we have. Well, here's the other good thing about Massachusetts. We're constantly having political turnover because our politicians are constantly getting arrested and indicted for bribery and fraud.
You could say it's happening en masse.
Yes.
That's a 3-pointer. You know what, Masami? That one did not pain me at all. I enjoyed that one. That was good. I liked it.
Oh, it's good stuff.
I think that was even isn't en masse a French word or something? En masse or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it is a French term.
Yeah, it's a French term, but it doesn't matter. It's a pun. It works.
Yes. Anyways, continue.
I know. I don't think many of you pay attention to copyright news, but I do because I'm just interested in seeing who's throwing DMCA's towards Google. And there's one case for a musician. So our former presidential administration, when Trump was running for president, he used a song in a campaign commercial that was put on YouTube and Twitter. And he used the song without permission, or his marketing campaign team used the song without permission of the artist. And so the artist was just like, I don't want to be associated with this guy at all, and sued him for copyright infringement. And Trump's legal team in the past week said that the lawsuit, which has been dragging on for years now, needed to be dismissed immediately because of the blanket copyright immunity of the presidents of the United States. So he claimed that the legal team claimed executive privilege and said, we can do whatever the fuck we want because we have blanket immunity from everything. And unsurprisingly, the judge was just like, no, that's not how that works at all.
Just gonna throw out here, it wasn't just one band that Trump did this to. Like, they did it to, like, literally every event they had, it would be in the news the next day. They played this song and the band is like, hey, fuck you, don't play our songs.
Right. This is one civil suit of at least 10 that are going on under the vein of copyright infringement.
Like, the Trump campaign was regularly doing that without shame.
Because fuck you, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was funny, yeah. Speaking of the American dream of fuck everybody who isn't me.
I mean, that's the funniest thing about Trump, though, because, like, the real baller move when you're rich is to pay for shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just being like, I got this problem, well, I can throw a couple $1 million at it and it's gone. Look at me flex.
Like, that's how you know Trump was a fraud, because he's I don't know, the one expression that I heard that always rang very true is that Trump is the poor man's version of, or the poor man's idea of a rich man, the dumb man's idea of a smart man, and a weak man's idea of a strong man.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that has fucking stood with me for so long.
I've read that too somewhere, probably Facebook, I'm guessing, and yeah, it's super rings very well.
And yeah, like, the real baller move is to pay for the shit that, you know, Yeah. If paying for shit doesn't bother you, then you're a baller.
Exactly. Yeah, when you're throwing away $1 million because it ain't no thing.
I mean, Bezos sent Shatner to space. If that's not a big fuck you, I can do whatever I want with my billions of dollars, I don't know what is.
See?
Okay.
Yeah, I hate Jeff Bezos and the fact that he is basically Lex Luthor. But like, there's no denying. There's no fucking denying that sending William Shatner into space is a big baller move. There's just no arguing it.
You know what though? I feel good about paying for William Shatner to go to space, even though he's a gigantic douche.
No, I do. It wasn't you paying for it that did it. It was Jeff Bezos exploiting his workers that did it.
Yes.
Oh, well, facts.
Yeah, it's the shit salary that his warehouse workers get and the unfair conditions that they have to deal with on a daily basis and are constantly embroiled in a legal fight over that got Captain Kirk into space.
Amazon is building a facility in my city, like a huge ass fucking warehouse, and they're trying to find workers, and it's hilarious.
There's in this day and age when everybody has a YouTube channel and you can form a Twitter group or a Facebook group and you can just tell everybody what it's like working in an Amazon warehouse, who the fuck do they think they're fooling?
Yeah, like
a friend of mine worked there for 2.5 weeks. Worked at the one in Delaware for 2.5 weeks, and she literally, they asked her to work overtime every single day, and every single day she gave them the same response: "I have kids." No.
I'm surprised that didn't get her fired like fast.
Yeah. So
the only entertaining job I can ever see is being a delivery driver for Amazon, because there's some funny ass TikToks of Amazon workers making deliveries out there.
Yeah, I'm sure the TikToks will make it worth the fact that they have a camera on you in the vehicle watching you, making sure that you're making your deliveries speedily and on time, and they judge you based on how quickly you make your deliveries. And,
based on your efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's nothing about working for Amazon that is remotely positive.
So in terms of deliveries, here's the positive thing. If I worked for UPS, thank God I didn't work for Amazon. UPS, the drivers have a union.
Yes, they do. And it is a great fucking union too.
There's none of that horse shit. You don't have a camera on you while you're making deliveries or drivers. All they expect you to do is you go out with a certain number of packages that day. You had better come back empty. It's your own fucking time. If you need overtime to do that, then you use overtime to do that. But it had better be at least plausible that you tried to move your ass. And as long as it's plausible, they're like, okay, that's fine. So in terms of driver delivery, yeah, I would rather be working for a place that's allowed to have a union. Whereas I think, am I thinking of Amazon or am I thinking of Tesla, where they were talking about having a union and corporate just came down and was like, no, we'll fucking fire all of you if you try that shit.
Both?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was both.
Elon Musk has been notoriously anti-union in his plants, and Jeff Bezos is the same. Like, yeah. It's the same article with either name.
That's how you kill profits, is having a union where people are paid fairly, sometimes more than fairly. But hey, it's I understand doing that job for years on end. That's not exactly fulfilling. So if you have more money to look forward to, that's some incentive for you to keep on doing your job well and stay with the company.
The romance of moving boxes grows thin quite quickly.
It really does, especially in the wintertime when people don't de-ice their driveways and they're really slippery.
Fuck no.
I'm surprised I didn't break my coccyx.
Nah.
Yeah.
You know, I could definitely see you as a package man, Doc.
Why, thank you.
Handling packages, moving packages, fondling packages.
My favorite packages were the small packages. They were very easy to handle. Some of the larger packages were more fun, though. It was, guessing how to get a good grip on them.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you developed quite the technique.
I tried. I was always polite and courteous, and I tried to be more of a giver.
The real talent comes when you get one package in each hand at the same time.
That's true, yeah. Well, the trick really is to see how many packages you can juggle.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you hold one like under your chin, against your chest. Yeah.
Yep. Under each arm and in both hands, and yeah, you just go for it. The joke here, folks, is that I like penis.
I know, and if you've been watching these, you would already know this.
For our first time viewers.
Wait, we have viewers?
Actually, on Twitch right now, we got a punch.
Nani the fuck?
Yeah, I'm in mod panel. All right, so we can have a spoiler-free conversation about Dune if we'd like to.
I'm okay with it.
I haven't finished it yet. I was literally watching it as the podcast started. I've got about a half hour, 45 minutes left, something like that, depending on how long the credits run at the end. But yeah.
So the thing that I'll say about I have many angles from which to approach an analysis of Dune 2021, the Villeneuve film that just came out. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Villanueva.
Villanueva, thank you. Who just directed the 2021 version of Dune. So the first angle that I'll put to it is the positive one. It is sufficiently bizarre for a Dune movie.
Dude, it gets out there. It goes between, the sort of concrete, this is what's happening right now, to weird, mystical craziness.
Good.
And often doesn't explain a lot of it, which I think is for the better.
Yes, probably for the best. Because, yeah.
I don't know, a lot of movies nowadays, I think, explain too much. It's you gotta strike a balance, explain enough without turning it into a narration, but not leave people too in the dark.
And I think that's kind of the thing to do with Dune. As someone who's consumed all of Frank's original writing of Dune and the Dune Encyclopedia, which he didn't write, but heavily worked with the person who put it together. Like, there's a lot of minutia and detail that it could have gotten bogged down into. So I'm actually pleasantly pleased to hear that they left some things ambiguous, because if they tried to explain them, they would probably go off the deep end and people would get
it's just like stuff. It's like this character. You find out that this character is a Bene Gesserit. Do they need to go through the whole story of what they are, what their history is, who they are? Nope, they don't. You just know that that's what she is. There's some long-lived order of women, what their purpose is. They don't explain it because they don't need to.
Well, they do. Actually, I would say that we learn more about the Bene Gesserit in this than any other minutia, if you want to call it, of the Frank Herbert Dune universe, because it's appropriately spelled out in the course of dialogue, which is appropriate at the time and makes sense in the course of the scene. And in this movie, we learn, okay, the Bene Gesserit are a sisterhood. It's only girls. They have been around for a long time, as Omega said. They silently manipulate politics in the background. There's a Bene Gesserit attached to basically every great house of Innistrad. And there is the Bene Gesserit matriarch, who is right at the Emperor's side. So they are, as you said, they are, this order that has existed for a really long time, but they are into shadow politics, and on the side of shadow politics, they are bloodline manipulators, and they're going after something, and we learn what the something is, the Kwisatz Haderach, we know this, and they have two agendas. One's political, one is spiritual. And all that comes out appropriately well. Now, there's a ton of other stuff behind the Bene Gesserits that is never brought up because it doesn't really need to be. I guess it's important for you to know all this information about them specifically because the first half of the book weighs very heavily on why the things happen to Paul and how he gets in and out of some situations. So I can understand why that sort of stuff made it into the movie, but doesn't, as has been said, the movie doesn't get bogged down with details like, all the minutia. Enough is put to the audience where if they're curious, they can go and look.
Or if they're huge buffs and nerds, it'll just make them really happy just seeing it.
What's really interesting is, I think to people who aren't familiar with the Dune universe, they would be well served by somewhere there's got to be like a wiki version of things, just like a Dune wiki, and just read like the basic layout of who the houses are, and a basic understanding, like a basic understanding might be helpful to somebody coming to this for the first time.
Yeah,
but I think they did a surprisingly good job of telling what needed to be told without it weighing down the story, and just kind of letting the story tell itself.
Definitely do that.
In that same vein, it leads me to the second angle of approach to this, in that, yeah, it's important there is a whole lot of information in the universe of Dune. There's a ton of it. One of the faults of the David Lynch version of this movie from 1984 is that he tries to put a little too much of it in there, and instead of putting it into dialogue and scenes that make sense or show you what the culture is and what these things are, it turns into just stating lines that it doesn't sound like people would say. It sounds like George Lucas dialogue, where you just literally in 1984 Dune, when Chani is introduced, her first lines are, "I am Chani of clan something or other. I would not have let you harm my friends. Come with me," and all the rest of that. It sounds robotic. So that is bad. However, there are movies, and I'm gonna reference a really good movie here, all right? Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road actually has a huge backstory to it and all the characters and all the rest of that, and we don't go into any of that in the movie because that's not what the movie's about. It's an action movie. We're moving from place to place to place. It's a superbly well-executed action movie. It's brilliant in most aspects. It's probably my favorite action movie of all time. It might even be better than Die Hard, in my opinion. But they're close ties. The thing about Mad Max Fury Road is, at multiple points in that movie, there are lines that go in passing that make sense at the time for people to say them, which cue questions for the audience to ask. It doesn't matter if there's a whole backstory or a whole universe behind something that you're watching right now if you have no idea what questions to ask to, a Wikipedia or a wiki, a Dune wiki or a Mad Max wiki or something like that. So, for example, I think it's capable at the beginning of Mad Max when they're making their escape through with the war rig, and they see the two groups coming to chase them down, three groups coming to chase them down. She's looking through the binoculars, and she's just briefly identifying who she sees. And the last line is, "And there's the people leader himself, come to count the cost." So, one line, we get to know who this character is that's chasing them. That's why it's relevant. 2, he's called the people leader. Is he a cannibal? Probably. 3, come to count the cost. Accountant of some sort? What the hell is an accountant doing in a Mad Max period? So these are questions that are cued from one line that you can then go and you can look this shit up and you can, enjoy the movie even more the next time you watch it when you know this shit. But if you're never presented with the opportunity for these questions, then you never ask them and you just get the same thing again and again.
I had a feeling Mad Max would come up in this discussion because I know it's one of your favorites. And I will say that Mad Max is one of the movies that I think doesn't do enough of that. It takes that to the extreme of just explaining nothing, no context, no real establishment of anything. Just here's what's happening. Like, here's the world that this is all happening in. And I found that I ended up enjoying Mad Max far more on subsequent viewings than I did the first time because of that.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing with me too, because I knew that I knew what questions I wanted to ask, so I went and I found them, and then I came back to the movie, and I did enjoy it more the second time.
But see, I was so high the first time I watched the movie that I didn't remember any of the questions I needed to ask, and I was just like, this is just confusing.
The first time Omega saw Mad Max Fury Road, he was in my house, and we were very high.
Yeah.
I'll see another reason to come to Massachusetts.
So
legalized
it's fun. It's a good movie, but I think that movie to me is better on multiple watchings. Where I think I think Dune was made in a way that is approachable to people who don't know it,
Yes.
don't actually have that background knowledge of everything, without feeling almost alienated by it. And at a certain point, watching Fury Road for the first time, I just had to be like, all right, whatever. This looks awesome. It's cool. I don't care. I'm not gonna ask questions about it. But I think it does serve to let people in a little bit. And I think Dune does a really good job of explaining enough so that the viewer isn't distracted by what they don't know. I guess is how I would phrase that.
So
Nice.
I'll wrap up my second angle of approach on this by saying it's good that they don't bog the viewers down in the near infinite detail of the Dune universe. It's bad that they don't mention things to make people curious about the potentially very important aspect. Well, I know they're very important aspects, so that when those things come around or when you watch this movie again, you have gone and you have answered those questions. And I know I'm talking about people that actually engage with the movie and treat it actively instead of passively, and that's not the mainstream audience, and that's not what people are interested in. But for the nerds out there, it might be nice, or at least just a little satisfying for them to use the word mentat once. That never got brought up. Thufir just made an appearance in a scene. He did a weird thing with his eyes, and that was it.
That's
never
interesting,
explained what he is, never explained why he's there, or what a mentat is, or why they exist, or prompted questions to make people curious about that.
That's actually a good point, because I'm now realizing that I didn't even make that connection,
So that goes into my third angle of approach, which is marketability. Dune's fucking weird. It should be weird. It is immersive. The fucking 1984 VHS of this comes with a booklet that is just an index of terms used in the movie that are not English that you might be curious what they mean. So it's a weird ass movie. How do you get that to play with your average audience and get everybody out in the movie theater and buy a ticket for this?
A supremely star-studded cast. Holy shit, the cast in this movie is amazing.
It is. It really fucking is.
Josh Brolin especially.
Cast is incredible.
They got a really amazing cast.
This Stellan Skarsgård as in his role is fucking Vladimir, awesome.
Yeah, he's Vladimir Harkonnen. Yeah,
dude, he is so good. Yeah, I didn't want to. Yeah, but he's so badass. It's so cool. I love it so much.
I'm really looking forward to watching that. When I heard that he was picked, I was like, ooh, that's gonna be great.
And just as an aside here, there's always going to be the argument of the nerds who are saying he's not like that in the book. Or a lot of the characters in this movie do not behave like the characters in the book.
Interesting.
I've read the book. I'm familiar with the characters. I agree. A lot of the characters in this movie do not behave terribly much like the characters in the book. The Baron Vladimir Harkonnen is supposed to be a boisterous, just basically insane, insane but very intelligent, manipulative, just horrible human being who is loud and intimidating and just all the rest of that. None of that. Skarsgård plays this as a quiet, menacing, really dark individual. And to say that, okay, something, aspects of the book are, ignored and, it's not in the movie and everything like that. That's not a valid argument. I just want to clarify this and let you all know where I stand. Books are an active form of entertainment. You have to actively read a book. A movie is a passive form of entertainment. You sit there and you watch a movie. You can engage with it if you want to, but it's passive. The two mediums are entirely separate. You can tell a story one way in a book that will never work in a movie. You can you can work a movie around in a way that it will just really not work solid in a book. As long as, who was it? Bret Easton Ellis, who is the author of American Psycho. I caught an interview with him on Charlie Rose, a while ago, and he was speaking with the director and with Christian Bale at the time, and Bret Easton Ellis was there and said, yeah, I actually wrote a screenplay for American Psycho, and the studio rejected it, and they went in favor with someone else. And then I watched this movie, and I can't be mad at this movie and say they ruined my book, even though this movie is very, very different from my book, because it's a good movie, and it keeps the tone. And all you can ever hope for as an author is that if your book is adapted into a movie, that the movie maintains the tone and the spirit and the message that your book did, even if the movie has to tell the story in a slightly different way or leave out parts or make up something to skip over. So saying that, this movie doesn't exactly follow the book is a horseshit argument, in my opinion. But back onto the main thing. Marketability. How do you get those people into the theater? Well, first of all, you don't make it fucking bizarre. I wish they made more allusions to the Spacing Guild, to Mentats, to why does your average moviegoer probably would never even question, why are there no robots in this movie? There are no machines that are not man-operated in this movie. No robots, no androids, nothing like that. Why? There's a very good reason for it. Go and fucking read the book or the Dune wiki.
Yes.
But yeah, so the other way that they have the marketability is the star-studded cast. There are a lot of people in here doing a hell of a good job. I think Duke Leto Atreides was portrayed very well. I think that the Lady Jessica was portrayed very well. I think Stilgar, Javier Bardem is probably the best Stilgar that I've seen in a TV or a movie adaptation of the book. He kind of nails that character.
Excellent.
And the other way is a specific demographic, which always does very poorly, especially with sci-fi space opera. 14 to 24-year-old females. How do you guys think that we're going to get them into the theater?
Jason Momoa.
All of the casting.
Unfortunately, not Jason. Jason Momoa should have been in the film a little bit more, but his character, he's used appropriately in the story.
If they keep making the movies, he'll show up again. Spoiler alert.
So, oh no, Duncan Idaho?
Yeah.
No, Duncan Idaho fucking dies.
Oh no, I know, but if you keep reading, he comes back.
Oh geez, okay.
Like I said, if they keep making them, he'll come back eventually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, remember that whole no spoilers part of the conversation?
That's in a different book, as far as I remember.
Yeah,
but who knows how they line up with the movies?
I don't know if they'll make it to Children of Dune.
I don't think so either. But
I was gonna say that the main character, Paul Atreides, I'm not sold on the guy that they got to play Paul Atreides.
Really, I like it. I have no problem with him.
There were a couple, and I know this is nitpicking, but he has a couple lines in this movie that are just like, that's not something that Paul Atreides would ever say. Paul Atreides would never turn to somebody and be like, "Let's get out of here." That's like, imagine somebody had never read a Lord of the Rings book or seen a Lord of the Rings movie, and then they watch Return of the King and they see Legolas in the battle jumping up onto an elephant. He draws those 3 arrows back, shoots 3 arrows into the head of the elephant trips, dies, and he slides down the trunk, and then when he lands he says, "Whoa, awesome." That's not something that Legolas would say.
I am imagining the hair flip that accompanies that statement, though.
Dude.
Yeah, I see no problem with this.
So that
I would like to see Lord of the Rings reshot with Legolas, the new character,
as a surfer boy.
Yeah, he's a surfer bro, and his father is Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
You just got to keep on surfing those elephants, boy. You got to put the arrows in the heads, and then eventually you're gonna find the ground. But yeah, so that's not. I know that's nitpicking. It's a couple of lines of his that just do not work for me. And the character gets better as the movie goes on, but just him as the actor, as the face, or something like that is just not. That's not really how I imagine Paul Atreides in any manifestation in the book or in the previous TV movie or in the David Lynch 1984 movie. All those Paul Atreides were. The 1984 David Lynch movie and the 2003 sci-fi 6-hour edition of Dune, both of those Paul Atreides were closer to the spirit of the character, not the character itself, but the spirit and the tone that Paul has with his family.
Fair. I'm
Sorry,
kind of.
Oh no, you said spirit and I said spirit.
Oh yeah, spirit.
Spirit.
Bravado. Alright, sorry, Miss.
Daring do.
Sorry, we've all seen Monty Python.
No shit.
We like the life of Brian.
Yes, it's wackus bonkus. Fuck. What was I gonna go for? I will say that if they do make the second half of the book, which it sounds like the movie's doing well enough to probably make that occur.
Oh god, it got 1.9 million views on the first day. It was a huge success. Like,
good.
I saw an article. It was a massive success.
Big success.
I can't tell you how many Dune community. Well, I'm not in that many Dune communities, but I'm in a few Dune communities that are absolutely obsessed with making sure the movie does well enough to get the other half. Because I'll be honest, like, if I had to say, like, usually it's the older Paul that I'm interested in seeing how is done rather than the younger Paul. So I'm like willing to let a lot slide for younger Paul, but if it shapes up and, like, you know, comes together with older Paul and that, like, the second half of the story, so to speak, then, like, I'm willing to let some stuff slide. So
he's kind of the other thing. What's his name? Timothy Clement.
Yeah.
Chalamet.
Like, he's supposedly some, like, big, like, teen actor or something, or I can't remember.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that he got the part in this not solely based on his acting chops. If I had to guess, I would say that it's the slightly effeminate face that appeals to the 14 to 24 female demographic that'll get them into the theater.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Same with Shawnee.
Yeah, so here's and that's the other thing that kind of pisses me off. So Zenedine, I know her name is Zendaya. But I always just call her Zenedine Zidane because for whatever reason I can remember that footballer's name easier. Also, he headbutted a dude in the chest and it was great.
That's why you can remember his name, because he fucking headbutted a guy in the World Cup.
And I was fucking watching it live. Yeah, that was fantastic.
I remember that. That was hilarious. It was his last game too.
Yeah, damn right it was. Okay, so with Chani, here's the thing. After a while in this movie, I felt like they were having dreams and flashbacks to Chani just to remind us that she was in the movie. That doesn't necessarily fit with the tone of the rest of Dune. I mean, it's not about Paul pursuing Chani into the desert. It's about Paul realizing that there's a spiritual significance between the Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserits and the Fremen of Arrakis and the larger workings of the Empire going on, and where everybody fits into that, and why the Kwisatz Haderach is significant, and why, you know, bad things happen to good people, and all the rest. There are many themes going on there that you can argue back and forth about, most of which is horseshit, but it's fun.
Yes.
So you don't need a billion scenes of her just to remind people that, oh yeah, she's in the movie. I'm sorry, if you came to see her, you're really not going to see all that much, but she's totally in here. And
which character is this?
Chani, the girl that he meets when he gets to whatever. It's in the last hour of the movie.
Yep. I'm terrible with names of characters when in anything that I view, whether it's like a movie or a TV show or whatever. Like, I remember who they are in terms of their relationships with other people and what they do, but I almost never register names.
Yeah.
How does how did Liet Kynes go off?
Dr. Liet Kynes, first of all, is now a black woman.
Yeah, I know that. That's just why I ask. Yeah.
She honestly, okay, her character starts off awful and then it gets good, which is a real shame. Because we know why.
Right.
She, almost starting off. I need to find the actor who actually plays her. Dr. Liet Kynes. Okay, Sharon Duncan Brewster. Her line delivery when she is introduced to the film, it's obvious that, Dr. Liet Kynes, the character, is just an emissary of the Emperor. She doesn't want to be there. She's probably done this before. She's been putting up with the Harkonnen for God knows how long, and she just fucking views everybody, all these stewards of Arrakis, as pretty much scum. I understand that attitude, and I understand going all of it. But when you have line delivery, and you're in the middle of a sentence, and then you continue on for gravity.
Oh.
That wears on me. It really wears on me.
Like the Shatner pause?
A little bit, but it's shorter than the Shatner pause, but it's just long enough to really stick with me, and I guess this is going to be another nitpick. I get it, I'm nitpicking, but this is a fucking movie, and I'm really paying attention to it because I really want to like it, and I notice those things.
Right.
Blame the director on that one. He's the one who made her take that way.
Well, so here's the funny thing. She stops that line delivery when she starts not hating the Atreides family. It's like we're watching two different performances of two different characters, and she sort of morphs from one into the other. There's such a thing as character development, which is great, but when you're physically changing the way that you say something and deliver lines and everything, that's not character development, that's just odd. So whatever, it's a character in here. She plays her part. She does her part very well, and we end up liking her towards the last hour of the movie or something like that. So everything ends up fine with Dr. Liet Kynes, played by Sharon Duncan Brewster. And the other thing, the other angle of approach that I took to this was something that you said, Masami. I really want this to get a part 2. Denis Villeneuve, whatever the fuck. When he met with Legendary and Warner Brother executives, he initially sat down and said, okay, this can't be one movie. They tried that before. It didn't work. This needs to be multiple movies. And they were enthusiastic, and they were like, yes, absolutely, we agree with you. And then they started talking about a shooting schedule. And they said, no, we can't do more than one movie at once. It's too expensive.
Right.
On the surface, that makes sense from a monetary standpoint. But I also can't help but think of it as a reaction to what I'll call internet culture these days. You put out a movie that's not necessarily terrible. It might have just been overhyped, or the trailers might have led you to believe that it was something that it wasn't. So an asshole like me goes on to a podcast and says, oh, I was disappointed with this, it's not that great. Assholes like me who have more than, a couple people in the audience will inspire those people to not go and watch the movie, not pay for the film, and the film doesn't make a lot of money. So if you had planned a 3-part trilogy, like, what was it, Insurgent? That was the multi-part one that just sort of fizzled out towards the end there. Insurgent, Divergent, Resurgent, whatever the fuck ever. Yeah. And they kept on getting worse and worse, and they shot a whole bunch of them simultaneously, but people were just like, well, this is bad. I'm not going to go see this. And the studio's like, well, what do we do with all this footage that we just shot? Well, might as well make a movie out of it and recoup some losses. Instead of having something like that happen, the studios have shot one complete movie, and they're waiting to see how it's received. So if you say bad things about it, if you don't like it, if we don't get the money that we need to recoup our investment, well, we're just not going to give you part 2. Too bad.
Yep.
Makes sense monetarily, but that's an interest. I find it annoying and hilarious. That is the reaction to shit talking on the internet. I'm going to assume that it is.
And they delayed the entire movie for a year because they did not want to release it straight to streaming, because this was due to come out last year at this time. Obviously, that didn't happen. And honestly, like, all of the fan communities I was tuned into were okay with that, because we did not want to see the movie flop and not get a part 2. Or I don't know if they're gonna just rope in part 2 in some of Dune Messiah and Children of Dune or something.
No, there has to be a second part of Dune, because there is too much in the first book that is just not covered in this movie. This movie stops basically when Paul goes into the desert.
Okay, that's what I thought, because that's honestly the best place for that to stop, because there's a little bit of a time thing that happens.
There's going to be I'll be interested if there is a second Dune movie. If they do make another movie, they haven't even on IMDb it says it's in pre-production. It isn't. The studio has not agreed to anything right now, and Villeneuve, the director, has no idea whether or not there will actually be a Dune Part 2. I think it's entirely based on how much money the studio makes.
Yeah, and I'm sure like everyone's contract had like that little clause written in, like,
an option.
An option that if part 2 is greenlit, that you'll be invited back to play the same role or whatever.
Sure.
Obviously, except for certain characters, but yeah, that makes the most sense. Like, I figured that's where it would end, to be honest. So, because there's actually a little bit of a time gap there, because some stuff will happen after that happens, and Paul get that, like, time skips, like, what is it, like 4 or 5 years in the future? Like, Paul goes from like a 16-year-old kid to like 19 or 20, something like that.
He does. He ages, and in the book anyway, he's using all that time to train with the Fremen, train the Fremen, and disrupt whatever production on Arrakis, and try to,
I mean, it's honestly a decent plan to put it there, because then Chalamet has a chance to actually like grow a little bit, instead of like the sci-fi miniseries where you just there's just no fucking difference. There's just not. They didn't make any effort to age him up or anything. Like,
there
maybe he
isn't.
got
Well,
a little bit of bulk, but not much.
there isn't any change in the David Lynch direction movie either. The difference between Paul before and after is that before he doesn't have blue eyes, and after he does.
Yeah, that's literally it in both movies. It's just
But that's the other thing. I mean,
God.
if they're taking the Last Airbender M. Night Shyamalan approach to this, then they're gonna wait 5 years for Dune Part 2.
Well, honestly, at this point, like, it's already been like a year or two since they've stopped filming that. Like, I'm sure Chalamet's probably changed appearance enough, and they could then do the rest with makeup. Like, if they started shooting in like another 6 or 9 months, that's even more time for him to grow up. So, like,
I
by the time
suppose,
they
yeah.
actually shoot anything, that age difference should be like at least somewhat obvious visually, and they can make the rest up with probably makeup. So, because big props to any uh makeup artists out there. Y'all do amazing work, and you're magic. So
Yeah. So everybody had better like this movie. Everybody had better say nice things about this movie so that it makes enough money so that they will actually agree to greenlight Dune Part 2. That's kind of what I've taken out of this whole thing, or what I've taken out of the split up shooting schedule, which to me makes no fucking sense. I mean, they had a set there. They had a fucking set for the palace. They had where did they build these things? Is this all on set? I was under the impression that they actually shot out in the desert in Jordan and what was another country I read? Whatever, it doesn't matter. They must have priced it all out and said, well, we'll build this stuff and we'll let it sit, or we'll tear it down and we'll rebuild it in a couple of years when we shoot the second part of this movie, if we shoot the second part of this movie. But
I'm sure it figured into the cost equation somehow, or they just paid Jordan enough to fucking keep it. So
but yeah, that was, I think, is that the last thing? Yeah, I don't really think there's anything else that I have to add to that discussion apart from, yeah, it's a fine movie. I really wish Thufir's going to be like profoundly important if they ever shoot part 2 of this movie. Thufir has a really fucking important back and forth scene. And we explored none of his character. So, did this movie give us just enough to know about the Bene Gesserit to make the movie make sense? And the next movie, we're going to learn all about the Guild? Because another thing is, we never saw the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV. We never saw a first, second, or third stage Guild Navigator. We never heard from the Guild or anything like that. It's almost like they don't exist. They get a brief mention that they are able to navigate through the stars, which is also, that's not correct. They don't do that. They move without moving. They fold space. But whatever.
More of that prescient bullshit. I'm sure they're going to have to, and maybe that's what's going to help add to the bulk of part 2 is explaining those and that, because that's really important to why Paul is able to pull the shit he pulls.
Yeah, spice is profoundly important to the Guild. I mean, it's important to everybody, but it's profoundly important to them.
Oh, God. Oh, on so many levels.
But yeah, I did, just to wrap that up, I did like, especially the Harkonnens, the way that they did that. Oh, the other character that they skimped on was Dr. Yui.
That I can see.
You got basically none of Dr. Yui in there, and then he just shows up out of nowhere and does his thing. It's like, there was no build up to that.
No, I think you got everything you needed out of him.
He
performed his role in the story. They introduced him early enough that you understood his connection to the family. You understood his role.
Yeah, he was the family physician.
And they explained why he did, why what happened. And yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. They could have done more, but again, that's where we're getting into the territory I was talking about of like, would that have been necessary to telling the story? Yeah. I don't think it was, because I didn't feel like I had any questions about him that I didn't have answered to a sufficient degree.
Okay. Yeah. I'll say one thing that the David Lynch version of this movie did right. There were a couple things, but one thing it really did right was it was just one passing line of Dr. Yui when I think the Lady Jessica and he have a long conversation in the book, but in the movie it's distilled down to, have you ever been to so-and-so, something about that, and Dr. Yui just says, yes, my wife and I, and then he pauses and he says, but then again, you never knew my wife, and he has a long sullen look on his face. And the Lady Jessica questions just for a moment, wait a minute, he's not telling you something. He's supposed to be completely honest and, foretelling what's gonna happen essentially. And then she looks at the tattoo on his forehead and says, well, that's the seal of Imperial conditioning, and that means that I can have absolute trust in him. So that's the extent of the whole thing. I think that's played out in 4 lines back and forth. But that, in the David Lynch movie, is the most important scene for Dr. Yui, because it establishes, yes, he's the family physician, he used to have a wife, something terrible happened to her, but he is trustworthy in this family. He's like the most trustworthy person in the family, and they are comfortable around him, whether he not wants to share the details of his past life or not. He's always going to be with the family on their side. And then that is an obvious setup. So that's a tiny bit more rewarding. But I guess if none of that was terribly necessary, then yeah, I'm fine with it not being in there, I guess.
Yeah, it's stuff like that where it's, you can't tell the whole book in a movie. It's just not possible. Of course not. It never will be. And the most that you can hope for is that they tell enough of the story in a good enough way that it encourages people to seek out the book.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the second point that I brought up. Exactly. That's what I want. I want the movie to prompt questions with lines that are just open enough that you understand what's going on in the scene and the line totally makes sense and you're not distracted at all, but you know what question to ask later.
Or even just wanting to see the characters more, because, most people who see movies and then go read books do so because they know there's more there.
for sure. And Josh Brolin is Josh Brolin.
Mm.
He is a national treasure and should be protected at all cost.
He is. Yeah, Thanos making a rare appearance in Dune.
He also played Agent J. Was it J?
K.
K. In Men in Black 3, which I thought was great.
He did a great job nailing that character.
The stone face, no emotion made that even better.
Yep.
Oh, I need to go in and watch those movies. Oh, wait, they're on Freeform this weekend. Nice.
There you go.
Along with Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, we'll save a conversation for movies that weren't quite as good as Dune for the post show.
You shut your mouth, sir.
Okay, you haven't even seen Dune yet.
I haven't. But Ghostbusters holds a very special place in my heart. So.
Yeah, funny thing, after I saw Jason Momoa playing Duncan Idaho in this film, I went back and I watched Conan the Barbarian, the 2011 remake, and he's way better in this.
I'm sure he's probably better in this than he was in Aquaman.
Yeah, you know what? Not his fault in Aquaman though, because Amber Heard played his quote-unquote love interest.
Yeah, let's just say that movie took a beating.
They had no chemistry. There was nothing between those two. There was just... it didn't even make sense that they liked each other. They should have been casual acquaintances.
Well, it's a good thing she's not going to be in the next movie, then.
Or did they finally get her off of it?
Yes, they did. She is gone.
What?
Nice.
There's another Aquaman movie?
God. Yes, there is a second Aquaman movie coming out, and Amber Heard was a part of it until literally every comic book fan went, look, if you don't take her off, then...
We're not even going to come and just stare at his abs.
No, not even that. We won't even illegally download this movie.
Oh.
There's your disc.
If you think the reason that she's not in that movie is because she was awful, then you're just way off.
No, that's not it. I know the reason why she's not in there. No, that's it's brutally clear why everybody did not want her in there is because Johnny Depp didn't deserve the hate that he got.
Yeah, the world finally realized the reality of that situation.
I don't know nearly enough about that to talk about it. What happened?
Okay.
Basically, the long and the short of it is they broke up. She accused him of being abusive.
I knew that
all
part.
Of that. And then he comes out with tapes of her, audio tapes of her literally throwing stuff at him, hitting him, beating him, telling him, while she's hitting him, telling him no one's going to believe you. You know, it's all sorts of horrible shit.
She cut off his fucking finger, and he had to get it re-sewn back on. It
really?
was... Yeah.
So, when the breakup happened, she so successfully played the victim, and all of Hollywood bought it hook, line, and sinker, and she fucking ruined Johnny Depp's career and lost him Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
I know, yeah, he got dropped from the Pirates movies.
Yeah. Because of what she said.
He got dropped from Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That pissed me off.
Yeah, no, every movie company dropped him like a bad habit.
Originally, I was pissed off at him because he ruined a character in a franchise. It's like, great, this is good. This is going to be like when they swapped Dumbledore out at the beginning of the Harry Potter movies, except for it wasn't Dumbledore's fault. The original guy they got to play passed away, and they had to swap him out. Now the same thing's going to happen in this movie, but it's going to happen because you're a piece of shit. And then I got so mad at that. Now I'm mad at the studio for for jumping that out or jumping the shark on that.
No, they had to.
I know, for public appearances they absolutely had to, but they hadn't even started shooting yet.
She literally did this in the middle of Me Too. I know. She was for a minute. She literally stole the movement and got the Me Too movement to turn on Johnny Depp. He was, you could, to use the verb, he was Me Too'd, and it turned out that it was false.
I was going to say that he turned into Public Enemy #1, which was going to be a bad pun because he was in a movie where he played John Dillinger, who was Public Enemy #1. And the movie was called Public Enemy.
Yup, give yourself a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That's a 3-pointer.
Yay!
It is.
Oh, Christ. Okay. So anyway, Dune, give it a watch. Go and actually pay to see it. At least once. And then pirate as much as you want. But pay to see it at least once. Because it deserves it, and most everybody in there. Okay, last thing. Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica. Very much enjoyed the portrayal of Lady Jessica.
Excellent.
Very, very different to the other two portrayals in the TV movie and the 1984 David Lynch movie. Very slightly different from the character in the book. I'd say that she's taken a different aspect on that character than what's written, but she does it for good reasons, and she plays the part very believably as the character in the tone of the story. So she did a great job. Oscar Isaac, too.
Awesome.
Actually happier that we got more scenes with Oscar Isaac in the beginning of this movie.
I mean, it's Oscar Isaac. If you don't give him some screen time, then why bother?
Yeah.
Oof.
All right. The last thing that I was gonna pull up here was okay. So I found an article: how hackers are hijacking YouTube accounts to run ads for cryptocurrency scams. This is such a stupid scam. Basically, on your YouTube account, you get a DM from somebody who says we should totally collab, and it's it's an account that looks like the name of somebody who actually has a decent YouTube channel, or it's someone who actually has a decent YouTube channel that's been hacked, and they send this DM to you. They redirect you to a URL that looks like it's got tools for collaboration or something. You download a piece of malware. It extracts the cookies from your browser, sends them to a command and control server, and they use the cookies to hijack your YouTube account to enable ads for cryptocurrency or whatever, or just to enable ads, and then they have your AdSense account, and they take the money. So that's the elaborate Russian hacking scheme going on YouTube right now. So the Church of Chonkwij has no ads on any of these videos. If you see ads on any of our videos, except for the one that got copyright striked because of the Lord of the Rings movie. Oh no, it wasn't even because of the Lord of the Rings movie. It's because we paid the fucking Space Jam trailer. It got snagged by Sony or whoever, Warner Brothers.
Really?
Yeah, so if you see ads on any of our videos except for that one, it means that we got hacked by Russians and I did something stupid.
Golly, I remember all the crap I had to go through when I streamed Final Fantasy Tactics to my channel. Squeenix was not happy about that at all.
Yeah, fuck that. It's free advertising any way you look at it.
And the game is fucking 20 plus years old. Come on.
Yeah, also that.
Like, I get it. If I'm playing like Final Fantasy 15 or 14 and the music is playing loudly, I get it. But Lord have mercy.
Oh, well.
I mean, there is this weird edge case where like music was licensed for a game and that licensing agreement has expired, so it's no longer it's no longer legally licensed. And since you were then broadcasting it, you would be thereby violating that license. So like there is actually a situation that can happen with old games.
Sure.
Yeah.
But anyway. Thought that was silly. Don't go to third-party URLs and download shit, you dumb fucks. Oh god damn it! I should have said Chuckle Fox. That was the perfect opportunity.
Oh, that was the perfect chance.
I blew that hard.
You blew it so hard it made a noise.
Yeah. Oof.
Now that needs to be on the soundboard.
What do we call? All right, I can snip that. I still gotta snip out the one that Leetness pointed out. That was one of yours, Masami.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I gotta grab that. The Leetness was almost with us tonight. Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
in spirit, though.
In spirit, yeah. We miss him. We miss him terribly.
I would put my penis in it.
I know. I know you would.
Deeply, deeply and truly.
Truly, madly, deeply.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. So this podcast, wow, we ran over 2 hours. We talked about Dune for a
Holy
long time.
buckets. Yeah.
What do we call it? I suggest that we call this podcast the Dune Cast. It's over half the time. Musami will probably come up with something more clever than that. But anyway, yeah. Take us out. GG's everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the podcast. Thank you for the impressive list of users on Twitch. So yeah, we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Penis, everybody. Penis. Anybody else? Anybody else got a penis?
Penis. It was small, but yes.
Masami, give us a penis.
No, I've got 2 mounds, though.
Oh, all right, tell Kosen to give us a penis. All right, no, we'll do that after. All right, GG's everybody. Later.